On the COVID list yesterday with the Chiefs, which means those two players, Daniel Kilgore and Demarcus Robinson, as long as they continue to test negative, will be able to rejoin the team this weekend and play in the game. We're getting to a critical point here. If somebody tests positive or gets identified as a close contact, tomorrow they won't be eligible to play in the game. So hopefully the no news, good news continues. Sammy Watkins, Chiefs wide receiver, hasn't played in the postseason yet, got a calf injury. There's some optimism he will be ready to go on Sunday, but today's practice will begin to tell the tale. Remember, today is the first real practice of the week in terms of a game week, so we'll have an injury report at the end of the day, be able to tell what Sammy Watkins was able to do, how he's moving around, and the likelihood of him being there Sunday, but he believes he's got a chance to go. And you know, there's an injury to Patrick Mahomes. It didn't seem to matter in the AFC Championship game. He played with turf toe. He said yesterday that he's feeling a lot better than he was, and that the 2 weeks in between the conference championship game and the Super Bowl should help him in terms of rest. If he was limited at all in terms of how he moved around the last game, that should be better this time around. It hasn't bothered him in practice or limited his reps out there, so I can't imagine it's going to be a significant problem on Sunday. Seems like, for the most part, other than those two Chiefs tackles we've talked about, the teams are healthy.
Which are critical injuries, particularly the one to Eric Fisher. So those are the news and notes. Now let's get down to the business. Ryan Clark, we were talking this morning, and the Chiefs in Vegas remain about a field goal favorite. But as you were going through the rosters, what did you find and what does it mean?
Listen, when I look at these rosters and you go top to bottom and you take the top 22 guys on each team, there are probably 5 Kansas City Chiefs that are playing in this game, obviously with the tackles out, that you'd pick. So say we were at recess, Greeny, you remember recess. I'm sure you had this in Chicago, and you go to recess. Now, this part you were not a part of, Greeny. When everybody lined up so you could pick the touch football teams, you go, you know, give me Patrick. Okay, give me Tyron. All right, give me Chris. And if we were doing that and we lined up the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Kansas City Chiefs, we'd pick more Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think you go Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes on offense. Those guys would get picked. Maybe Tyron, obviously Tyron Matthew, Chris Jones defensively. But I feel like the rest of the dudes would be Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You look at the offensive line, you think Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Obviously the linebacking core, the secondary. When you go pick person for person, roster for roster, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are better. Now, is it going to be that Patrick Mahomes is just so good he can overcome that? Or the Kansas City Chiefs just so top heavy that they can be better with less? But when you look at these teams, we really have to start looking at this game and giving the Tampa Bay Buccaneers more of a chance to win. Forget what you saw in Week 12. The roster in Tampa Bay is better, and they have the GOAT. So when you look at this game and you sit down with your popcorn, with your beer, with your soda, remember, the Tampa Bay Bucs are probably the better team.
Well, and so does that mean to you, Dominic Foxworth, they should be the favorite? Everything Ryan said makes sense. I don't think you disagree. Should the Buccaneers be the favorite in this game?
I don't disagree. They're the more talented team, but I'm not sure that they're the better team. And I know Ryan, with his Spencer James varsity jacket, understands the importance of team continuity. I think that continuity matters. And that team, that Chiefs team, though they may not have as much talent as the Buccaneers team, that team plays well together. And they understand each other. They trust each other. And they've been the most efficient offense that we've seen in this league over the past 3 years since Patrick Mahomes and Eric Bieniemy took over that offense. So that has value. That's not easy to measure necessarily, but it has value. And if you look at these two offenses over the past few weeks in the playoffs, there's only one offense that's been good or anywhere close to being dominant. The Bucs offense has not been that. No matter how much talent they have not been as efficient or effective as the Chiefs offense. And part of that is because of trust and continuity. That's something that you can't manufacture.
That's fair. And RC, let me float a different theory at you, and that is, at the end of the day, Kansas City has Patrick Mahomes, and the other guys don't. And he just makes that much of a difference. Is that a reasonable way to look at it?
No, it's absolutely a reasonable way to look at it, but don't we have to start giving him credit for that? Don't we have to start talking about this game and seeing what Patrick Mahomes has to overcome? I mean, you know, you mentioned Spencer James, Dominique. Listen, Billy Baker is not going to be coaching the Kansas City Chiefs. It's Andy Reid. And so when you think about these teams, it's going to be, okay, what can Andy Reid do? What can Eric Bieniemy do to put Patrick Mahomes in the right position to win this game? He's going to be under duress. You saw early on last week. when Dominique was talking about Shaq Barrett, the way he comes off the ball, not having Eric Fisher, obviously the other tackle being out, JPP playing at an all-pro, Pro Bowl level right now, and defensively with the linebacking core, what Todd Bowles can dial up, I feel like Patrick Mahomes is the underdog here, that Patrick Mahomes is the guy that has to overcome more. And if we remember, through 3 quarters last year in the Super Bowl, he wasn't Patrick Mahomes. He wasn't great. And so we're going to have to look at this game and start giving the Tampa Bay Buccaneers more credit for getting there, more of a chance to win the game. And if the Kansas City Chiefs do win, it's going to be on Patrick Mahomes. We won't walk away from this game and say, like Eli Manning, he threw one good pass and the NASCAR package was great. It's going to be Patrick Mahomes, more Patrick Mahomes, and if he doesn't show up, then they don't win.
I think that's right. So, Graziano, is it reasonable to say, with the 2 legendary quarterbacks in this game, there's a lot more pressure on Mahomes to be great than there is on Brady to be great?
Yeah, I think we see it coming in, right? I mean, Brady was great in the first half of the NFC Championship game and picking up 3rd downs. He threw 3 interceptions in the second half, and they still withstood it. It's amazing to think about. He's got more around him. We had to make picks for this game, and I think I'm going with the Buccaneers. I mean, like it sounds bizarre to pick against Mahomes, but it's incredibly tough to win 2 in a row. It's been 16 years since anybody did it. Congrats to the Chiefs on getting this far, and of course they obviously could, and no one would be surprised. But Tampa Bay is loaded. They're playing as well as they have all year. The continuity element, yes, it matters, but does it still at this point, with Tampa Bay having come this far, at this point, if they lose, is a lack of continuity from the offseason going to really be the issue? I don't think so. I think, they're sleeping in their own beds all week. There's a lot, I think, pointing toward Tampa Bay here.
Nick, give me a final thought.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I like that. It makes sense. It reminds me somewhat of the Eagles versus the Patriots Super Bowl when it came down to the O-line versus the D-line. I was brave enough back then to pick the Eagles to win that game because of that line play. I'm not that brave right now because I've seen Patrick Mahomes. I watched the playoffs last year. I watched him last week. I don't got the heart to go out here and say that. And you're right. The O-line matters, and if they can't protect him, there's nothing he can do about it. He is not God, but he's damn close. And I'm not going to bet against him just yet. I don't know. You do it at your own risk, Graziano.
You know what they say? I think it's no stones, no scones. Is that the expression? There's some breakfast-related risk reward. I'm trying to remember if anybody's brought it up.
We still have a few more days to make our bets and for those kind of analogies. Meanwhile, let's go.